She didn't cheat by accident. She prepared for it. The moment she changed his name in her phone, she had already decided. She was engaged to a good man, a man who cooked dinner on Sundays, who remembered her mother's birthday, who looked at her like she was enough. And she chose someone else. Not once. Not impulsively. Not in a moment of weakness, repeatedly, deliberately, with her eyes wide open. And that's when everything stopped being a mistake and became a system. Welcome back. You're listening to Midnight Confession Show. I'm your host, and tonight, we go somewhere uncomfortable. Tonight's story comes from a woman in her early 30s. She asked to remain anonymous, which honestly, after what you're about to hear, makes perfect sense. She sent this in through the submission form, and I want to tell it the way she told it to me. Because she didn't try to make herself the villain, and she didn't try to make herself innocent either. She told the truth. The kind of truth that sits in your chest and doesn't move. She had been with her fiancé for 4 years. 4 years of stability, warmth, and a love that, by her own words, never once turned cold. His name for tonight is Daniel. And Daniel was, by every measurable standard, a good man. The kind of man who showed up. Not sometimes, every time. They had been engaged for 8 months. The ring was real. The future was planned. And she told me, and I believe her, that she loved him. That's the part that makes this story difficult to sit with. Because this is not a story about falling out of love. This is a story about choosing something else anyway. So, she starts a new project at her firm. High stakes, long hours, new team. And that's where she meets him. For tonight, his name is Marcus. And here's the part that matters. It wasn't instant attraction. It wasn't physical. It wasn't even obvious. It was attention. He listened differently. He asked questions and waited for the answers. He noticed things, small things, the kind of things that disappear over time in long relationships, not because love fades, but because routine replaces curiosity. And this is where it starts. Not with a kiss, not with a touch, with attention. Within 3 weeks, she was dressing differently for work. Not dramatically, just intentionally. A little more aware of how she looked. A little more present in her own reflection. She told herself it was confidence, new project, new energy. She told herself a lot of things, and this is where it stops being innocent. He texts her one evening. Work-related, she replies. They keep going. Past midnight, laughing about something she can't even remember now. And then it happens. A 4-second decision. She saves his name in her phone. Not under his real name. Under the name of a female colleague. She paused. She thought about it, and she did it anyway. That wasn't confusion. That was awareness. So ask yourself, at that exact moment, would you have stopped? Because she didn't. The messages continued, every day, then multiple times a day, and the tone shifted, slowly. The way a room changes temperature before you realize it's no longer comfortable. He told her things, real things, vulnerable things, and she matched him. Opened parts of herself she hadn't opened in years. Then came the late nights. She started staying after hours. At first, it made sense. Then it didn't. They'd order food, talk long after the work was done. And one night, there was a moment. Nothing happened. But something almost did. He stood a little too close, close enough that she noticed, close enough that she could have stepped back. She didn't, and that was enough, because once you don't step back, you've already moved forward. Then came the dinner. She told Daniel it was a work dinner. It wasn't. It was the two of them, 3 neighborhoods away from her office. Because she already understood something. Distance protects lies. And she was getting good at lying. That's how she described it. The lies started to build. One needed 3 more to survive. And she built them carefully, methodically. And that scared her. Because she wasn't losing control. She was managing it. One morning, she's getting ready for work. His message appears. She smiles, before reading it. Reflex, automatic, and she sees herself doing it in the mirror. And she feels sick. Because she knows. She knows exactly what she's doing. Daniel is asleep in the next room, trusting her. And Marcus is waiting for her reply, and she's standing between 2 versions of her life. She deletes the entire thread. Every message. Gone. 30 seconds. Clean. And then, 1 hour later, she texts him again. So what was that? Guilt? Or commitment? Because she didn't stop. There was a work trip. 2 days. Another city. A real conference. Everything legitimate. Except what they both already knew. Before the flights. Before the hotel. Before anything happened. They knew. And they went anyway. I'm not going to describe what happened. I don't need to. You already understand. What matters is this. It wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't unexpected. It was decided. She came home Thursday evening, took a cab, not a rideshare, a cab, no digital trail, no record. Think about that. That level of control, that level of planning. That is not someone carried away. That is someone executing a decision. She walked in. Daniel had cooked, not ordered. Cooked. Candles, a real meal. Because he missed her. She sat down, she ate, she smiled, she said it was delicious, and it was. She asked about his week. She listened, she laughed, she performed her life perfectly, and he had no idea. She slept next to him that night, and she told me something I haven't been able to forget. She slept better than she had in months. Not worse, better. And that changes everything. 3 weeks later, Daniel found a receipt. Small detail. Hotel, minibar. Wrong hotel. Didn't match her story. He didn't react immediately. He waited. 2 days. Said nothing. Watched. Thought. And then he asked, calm. Quiet, controlled. The kind of question you ask when you already know. She told him everything. Not out of courage, out of exhaustion. Because maintaining the lie had become heavier than the truth. He left within a week. She's not with Marcus. That didn't last. It rarely does. What survives in secrecy doesn't survive reality. And now she lives with it, not the affair, herself. The version of herself who changed the name told the lies, came home, sat at the table, and slept peacefully. She has to live with that person. So now, let's talk about it. On one hand, she's not a monster. She was disappearing, slowly, quietly, inside something that looked like love, but didn't feel alive anymore. She wasn't chasing betrayal. She was chasing feeling, attention, recognition, to be seen again. And when that appeared, she followed it. That's not evil. That's human. Uncomfortable, but human. On the other hand, she knew from the first decision, from the first lie, from the first moment she didn't step back. She built this carefully, deliberately, while a man who loved her cooked dinner and trusted her completely. She didn't lose control. She managed it. She didn't fall into it. She chose it. Again and again and again. Both are true at the same time. So tell me, was she escaping something? Or was she just taking something she knew wasn't hers? Because this wasn't one mistake. This was a system, and she built it.